According to Wikipedia, Freshers' Week, as it's called in England, is a period before the start of an academic year at a university. A variety of events are held to orient and welcome new students during this period. Unfortunately, on today's Searchlight, we are looking into a case where a young man has only been living at his new university for about 3 days, and he goes missing. And unfortunately, he goes missing near a body of water, which I know is going to raise all kinds of concerns and theories. Canal pusher, as it's called in the UK, or the smiley face killer theory, as we have here in the US. Do any of those really fit this case? I don't know, but I do know it's time to turn on the Searchlight. I'm John Lorden. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Brainscratch Searchlight. Today we're looking into the case of Thomas Jones. Let me just go ahead and bring up a photo of him here. And I want to give a very big thank you to everyone on Twitter that has been letting me know about this case. I've been watching developments on this case. This case is only a week old. Literally the day that I'm posting this, it is just 1 week before that Thomas disappeared. And there has been one of the most interesting turns in this case that I may have seen in all of the cases that I've covered. It's a very strange turn that happens in this case. We're going to get to it by the end of this video. And I'm also wondering if our comment review about last week's episode might have some thoughts and theories that could even apply to this case. Of course, last week we were also talking about an 18-year-old, and here we're talking about an 18-year-old. Thomas was actually just starting university. We can see here in the photo he's celebrating his 18th birthday. Unfortunately, he was only living in that area for 3 days, and he has since disappeared. So let's go ahead and move through the articles and see what we can learn about this case. Starting at birminghammail.co.uk. An appeal has been launched to try and locate a teenager who went missing 3 days after starting university. Thomas Jones, 18, was last seen at approximately 3:30 a.m. on Wednesday morning, the 19th of September, close to the river at Worcester Racecourse. And keep in mind, he was last seen at 3:30 a.m. Wednesday morning, but he went out Tuesday night. It was late Tuesday night. He went out with some friends, and basically his friends got a ride home. He decided to walk back to his place, communicated along the way. We're going to touch on that time frame as well, but then communication stopped and we don't know where he is. Now, one thing that's a really big question, I'm just going to throw it out there now because we don't have details on it, is I don't know what's going on in terms of the investigation trying to trace his cell phone. We know he certainly had it because he's got a bunch of communication he does with it. I'd be really curious to hear some type of analysis of what happened to that phone. Did it shut off around the time that he supposedly disappeared? Did it stay on? Did they trace where it went? Unfortunately, I can't find publicly available information on that. If you happen to run into any info on that, please share it with us in the comments down below. Here we have another picture of Thomas. Thomas is described as white, approximately 5 foot 5 inches tall, of slim build, with short, mousy brown hair and gray-green eyes. Let's learn a little bit more about where this is taking place. Worcester is a city in Worcestershire, England, 31 miles or 50 kilometers southwest of Birmingham. The population is approximately 100,000 people. The River Severn flanks the western side of the city center. And if we take a look at a map of this area, anytime I hear about disappearances happening near bodies of water, I get concerned. We know that this happens a lot with young men, particularly when they go out drinking and if they separate from their group. We have a lot of examples that we can look at and point to and say, we have another one of these cases. Young man winds up deceased in the water. I'm truly hoping that's not what we have in this case. I know that there have been multiple searches conducted in this river to date, and I haven't seen any information to point us towards the thought that he is actually in this river. However, obviously investigators are concerned with it as well because they have been searching the river very strongly, but nothing has been found to date. What we have here is essentially a footbridge that he would have used to go across, and I'm really not sure if he actually gets all the way across the footbridge and then he disappears after that. Some of the articles seem to allude to that. I'm just going to share that information with you guys and read it as we get into it. But you can see, even if he does successfully navigate across the bridge, we've got the footpath continuing kind of alongside of the actual water. There's a road on one side, there's water on the other. Let's just go ahead and drop down to take a look. It's strange because I tried doing the street view from over here before, and you can't really see it because this bridge is raised. You only see this ramp that kind of kicks down the bridge. So let's just take a look at where the ramp finishes. Yeah. So you can see there's a foot and bike path essentially that continues. This is the bridge that goes to the ramp that goes to the footbridge. And if you come down it, you are walking right next to the river, and of course, there looks like there's not a whole lot of fence. There's some fencing that happens here, but once you clear that, it looks like it's pretty much an open walk right towards the river. I'm wondering if the investigators were concerned because he was using his cell phone so much while he's walking on this type of path, 3:30 in the morning. I don't know if there's a whole lot of lights. Yeah, we got some street lights here. Including lights that are facing the direction of the walking path. I'm not sure how dangerous that could be around that time of night, but that is kind of the area that we're dealing with here. So moving forward to another article, CCTV footage has been found which shows Tom Jones at the Hive Library before 3:40 a.m. on Wednesday. It is believed the student, who is from Bromsgrove, may have crossed the Sabrina Bridge, that's the bridge we were just looking at, in Worcester, and turned right, but the CCTV footage is unclear. He was wearing a blue Lacoste jacket, dark blue jeans, and blue Adidas Gazelle trainers. And I have seen a lot of articles referencing green shoes, so I don't know if these might be kind of aquamarine or something like that. Some articles are saying that they're blue, other articles are saying that his shoes are green, so I just wanted to note that to you guys. Here we can see that they've got a big digital billboard showing information about Thomas as well. Search parties today will knock on every door from Sabrina Bridge up to Hallow and ask for any CCTV footage from 3:30 a.m. to midnight on Wednesday, September 19th. Obviously, they're just trying to find any trace of him that they can. Police divers conducted a 2-day search of the River Severn and its banks. A spokesman said that the divers will be searching the river and that the quest will go on for as long as necessary. And I just have to tell you guys, from what I've seen about this news story, the community is really rallying around this. For some of the searches, hundreds of people have turned out. The authorities have actually had to say, look, we don't want volunteers in particular around the river. There was an incident that happened. Someone hurt themselves during one of the searches. So, but there has been just a huge effort, a huge community effort to try to find Thomas. It has been Freshers Week, with new students arriving at the University of Worcester ahead of the academic year. And anyone with information on Tom's whereabouts or potential sightings is asked to call 101, quoting 431S. And of course, I've got that contact information in the description box below. They also have a number for Crimestoppers. So if you have any information about what has happened to Thomas, please use that contact info and put it in the hands of people that can act on it. Back at Birmingham Live, they have some photos here of the searches that have gone on. I just kind of wanted to roll through these photos with you guys so you can get a bit of a sense of the area. We can see we're looking at a pretty wide body of water. Big search efforts in terms of how many posters have been put up, and I really like that they put this poster up in plastic so it can handle the weather. Seen that photo already. We can see the police marking off their area that they're searching for, or searching through. Yeah. I always get concerned, guys, when we're doing searches near bodies of water like this, but I'm really doing my best to stay hopeful, and I know the family is too. Moving over to worcesternews.co.uk. Jackie Rogers told the Worcester News that Tom spoke to his mom at 3:30 a.m. and a friend at 3:45 a.m. on Wednesday, and also sent a Snapchat while near the railings just before Sabrina Bridge. She said 18-year-old Tom was fine on the phone, but didn't know where he made the phone calls from. I believe they're saying that she didn't know where he was making the phone calls from, because based on some other information I saw when he spoke to his mother, he actually told his mother he was at home already, even though he wasn't quite back to his room yet. And Jackie, the woman that this article started with, that's his aunt, or aunt, I guess, depending on how you say it. Tom's aunt, Jackie, was at the Riverside Center in Hileton Road yesterday afternoon to help hand out the posters. The university has kindly given us this facility. They have been brilliant. Security and admin have been really good, she said. People are out searching areas where he was supposed to be. We have no confirmation that he crossed the bridge, though. This would be the most valuable piece of evidence. She added, he is of slim build, had a black jacket on, blonde hair. He stands out because he's a littleish lad, but big in personality. To go missing is totally out of character for him. He had been drinking, but not a lot. He hadn't been out all night because he didn't go out until late. Tom had been with his dad, Ian, watching football on Wednesday, his aunt said. He arrived home at around 11:45 before getting changed and going out with friends. And there's another friend of his, Harley, that is, I believe he's actually put the Facebook page together for this, or the Facebook group. He's basically saying the same thing. He saw Tom at the nightclub. He says, yeah, he was having some drinks, but he did not seem like he was drunk at all. Harley says that he didn't see Tom acting weird in any way to make him think that he had too much to drink, or maybe that there was some drugs involved or something like that. It just doesn't seem like we're dealing with that kind of case here. A Facebook group titled Find Jonah has been set up by Tom's friends to coordinate their efforts to help the search by handing out posters and sharing social media posts. Police have asked the public not to search for Tom around the riverside, as they will get in the way of specialist officers. A member of the public was injured on Thursday evening whilst participating in the search around the river. Which obviously can be very dangerous. And I'm glad that they kind of put that word out that they didn't need that type of help any further. And here we have a comment from some staff at the university. Ross Renton, Pro-Vice Chancellor of Students, University of Worcester, told the BBC, "We're a close-knit community here at Worcester, and our thoughts are with Tom's family. We're doing everything we can to help, and it's one of those things we're pulling together as a community." And it was great to hear from his aunt that they were actually providing space for them to effectively set up a base for coordinating all of these search efforts, getting the posters out, just trying to raise exposure every which way they can. Thomas Jones, 18, was last seen near the River Severn at Worcester Racecourse. The teenager from Bromsgrove was due to start a preliminary teaching course at the University of Worcester and had only moved there on Sunday. West Mercia police said specialist divers from South Wales Search and Rescue had been deployed to search the river by Worcester Rowing Club on Grandstand Road. Mr. Jones's mother, Vicky, said he's out there and we'll find him. His father, Ian, said, "We're realists, but we're also positive people, and we've got to think positive all the while, because if we didn't, we'd be letting ourselves down and our family and friends. So we are positive." And I certainly appreciate his approach when it comes to that. Here we actually have a photo of Thomas Jones' parents, Vicky and Ian. And now we're getting to that interesting twist that happens in this case. I got to tell you guys, when I'm monitoring these missing persons cases, if I see investigators go to the point that they want to arrest people, that typically tells me that we're looking at a foul play scenario and something bad has happened. And those cases seem to take a really big turn when we see events like that. I thought that we saw that turn happen in this case, but maybe that's not necessarily what's going on. Let's continue forward here. So effectively, the police state that they're looking for two men in particular. You can tell this is from CCTV footage. I believe this is from the club that they were at. So we've got two men that police are looking for. Officers have released images of two men they want to speak to in relation to the missing teenager Tom Jones. Detective Inspector Mark Bellamy from West Mercia Police said Firstly, I want to thank everyone who has come forward with information and possible sightings of Tom. The level of support that we have received from the local community is overwhelming. As such, we have been pursuing a number of lines of inquiry, and we are now currently treating this as a criminal investigation. As part of our inquiries, we are releasing images of 2 men we would like to speak to who were believed to be in Velvet nightclub in the early hours of Wednesday morning and may be able to assist with the investigation. So it's kind of strange because he's pretty much calling out, look, they're treating this as a criminal investigation now, which means there's some aspect where there's some information they found, or there was some kind of shift where they thought that there was foul play actually involved here. But we get a little bit of a back off in the following comment where he's saying, look, we just need to speak to these 2 guys. What I'm wondering is what drove them to those 2 men. You're talking about a nightclub that, according to other reports I've read, was just packed. I mean, like literally you could hardly walk through it. It was just standing room only, people, bumping shoulders, just completely packed. So why did these 2 guys in particular get called out? I am really not sure. But we see what happens here. West Mercia police said a 20-year-old man from Worcester was arrested on Sunday evening on suspicion of murder. He is currently in police custody. And then we go from there to another article. Both men were arrested on Sunday. Superintendent Damian Pettit said, "We are continuing the investigation with a number of lines of inquiry, and we'll keep the community updated with developments in our continued investigation. Thomas's family has been made aware of the updates, and they are being supported by specially trained officers." So we still don't exactly know what's going on, but they're zoning in on these 2 guys. One article is saying that one of them has been arrested on suspicion of murder. Then we hear that 2 are arrested, and then very quickly, like literally I think within a day, 2 men arrested, now released, and facing no further action. And this is actually a release that came directly from the police department. Other articles that are written around this have no further information. The only other little piece of information I've been able to glean from other articles are they're saying that the 2 men cooperated fully with the police, and the police have now essentially cleared them and released them. Very, very strange. I have never really seen this happen in a missing persons investigation before, where things look like they're turning into a homicide investigation, and then we get a big swing back in the other direction, and now we're back to square one. Now we're just back to this being treated as a missing persons case. And here we even see in their statement, this remains a missing person inquiry. The language about this being a criminal investigation and all that, certainly not in this update. So I'm really not sure how things changed so drastically there, but they did. Let's take a look at a timeline. I've seen this timeline on several different publications, but this is kind of the last moments and points of contact when it comes to Thomas. 3 a.m., McDonald's on 4 Gate Street with friends. Friends got on Uni Transport home. Tom walked as he had done the night before, not uncommon for students to do as far as we are currently aware. 3:15 a.m., spoke to Mom on the phone, said he was home, but he was actually still on the way. 3:30 a.m., took a Snapchat near Worcester Racecourse, black fences, thought to be on path towards the river. 3:45, told his flatmates that he was on his way home and wouldn't be long. 3:51, sent another Snapchat, this time to a friend in the halls, saying he wouldn't be long until he was there. And then that seems to be the last point of contact. There's no evidence of where Tom was anytime since 3:51 a.m. Police say they believe that just before 3:50 a.m., Tom walked across the bridge and turned right on the footpath along flood defenses on Hileton Road in the direction of Hallow. So, I don't know. This is really, really strange. And we're seeing, I mean, according to the police information, they do think he made it across the bridge. But like we talked about, he was definitely using the footpath and he was still next to the river. Superintendent Damian Pettit said, clearly we're focusing on the last movements known to us for Thomas. And that's one of those things I'm really curious about. Once again, like I said earlier, what's going on with his cell phone? What's going on with the pings? Can they tell if he's moving? Do we have some location history that they could look at? Anything like that? I don't know. I would appeal to further individuals in the community or groups who may know Thomas, who may have a piece of information they don't think is that relevant, actually may be really relevant, and particularly focus their attention on 3:00 a.m. on Wednesday morning through 4 a.m. Any information that they have is gratefully received and may be really helpful to the investigation to find Thomas, and they can impart that information to us on 101 or to Crimestoppers. Once again, all that info in the description box below. Unfortunately, that timeline, those last points of contact, that's really all we have to go on, at least for publicly available information on this case. But it strikes me that with the searches that they've done in the river in that area, I don't know that I'm convinced that we're looking at one of those stories, that we're looking at him winding up in the water source. Maybe there's something else at play here. Maybe life at university was a bit different than he was expecting. I don't know. I really don't know what's going on with this, but I do have a couple more articles I want to touch on just so we can get a better understanding of where his family is at with all this. Mr. Jones's family spoke out nearly a week after Mr. Jones vanished in Worcester. His uncle, Chris Rogers, told the BBC on Tuesday, "We had a house full yesterday and there were plenty of tears, buckets of tears. Tom is a gentle boy, one of the loveliest boys you could ever wish to meet. We covered every blade of grass in Worcester between us, and hopefully we have uncovered a lot of leads that police can follow up on. It's our job as a family to redouble our efforts, and we are intent to do that." And I'm really happy to hear him speak in that way. It's one of the things that I appreciate most about when I'm in contact with family members with missing loved ones, is just that sense of unending energy and renewable hope that they carry in these cases. It really moves me, and I'm just glad to hear that we've got a good dose of that going on with his uncle here. What about his parents? Mother Vicki Jones said they are no further forward in knowing what happened to their son than they were a week ago. We are caught between trying to keep a sense of normality and the reality. It's very difficult, she said. Father Ian Jones said one woman had seen the missing persons posters of their son and said they had seen him around 2:20 in the afternoon, British summertime, on Wednesday. She said he had looked dazed and was asking for the city center, Ian Jones added. The couple said they were 80% certain it was their son after watching CCTV footage on Tuesday. He just disappeared, they added. We're going out of our minds. I really don't know, because sightings like that are always a bit uncertain. We've heard in some cases where there have been sightings like that and then they've turned out to not have the happy outcome, and we know that the sighting was false. But it is pretty interesting to me that they had CCTV of this individual and that his own parents are saying that they're 80% certain. That's a pretty strong level of being certain that it could be their son. So I'm trying to remain hopeful with them in terms of maybe he is out there. Maybe there's something else that has happened. One of the situations that we've heard of frequently on this channel looking into these cases is some type of medical issue or some type of head wound, some level of amnesia or forgetfulness of who he is or what he's doing. Something along those lines certainly needs to be considered in this case. Outside of that, big lifestyle change going on for this young man at this point in his life. Could that have influenced his disappearance in some way? I certainly think that we need to consider that possibility as well. Now, there are two more websites I want to bring your attention to. The first is, of course, the Facebook group Find Jonah. You can come here. They're doing a pretty good job of keeping current news on here. It seems like they're also trying to do a good job of making sure that everyone is focused on the same thing, that this is really about finding Tom. So I totally get their struggle with that, and I'm thankful that they're doing their best with this. And I think I saw an article that said that this group has been followed something like by 18, I believe 18,000 people, if I read that article correctly. So we've got a lot of people interested in Thomas's case to begin with, and now I'm thankful that all you brain scratchers are part of that as well. And finally, there is one thing that is coming out of this as well. There is a change.org petition that has been started to get CCTV cameras along that river, specifically to keep these students safe. And I don't need to read it word for word for you guys. Just know I've already signed it. I will have it near the top of the links in the description box below. I hope that you guys will consider signing that as well. I think it just makes sense because we do know about these cases. I've talked about these cases a lot on the channel. Sometimes young people don't know what their limits are, have a little too much to drink, and then accidents do happen in this type of area. And then we wind up with these giant questions that families are saddled with, sometimes for years. So CCTV, probably not a bad idea in that area, and not just for those types of issues, but just the security and safety of students in other ways as well. So if you guys are moved to do so, I hope that you'll check out that link down below and sign that petition along with me as well. Currently, it's already been signed over 11,000 times. So, and it's growing. Actually, I just refreshed it and it's at 12,437 as of when I'm filming this. Speaking of which, this is a fast moving story. You know, I'm literally filming this on Tuesday night. It's going to be posted on Wednesday morning. There's a very good chance that some new news will already be out about this. You might want to jump on to your favorite news source and see if you can find some updates on this. Researching this has been a little bit tough because there are a lot of news publications that have jumped into the angle on this story where the two men were arrested and we were thinking we're going to be charged with murder, but then that kind of backed off. So there is just this glut of news stories that are literally just like 2 paragraphs long. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that you're probably going to look at the news results and say, oh my God, there's so much to read about all this. When you start actually going into those articles, they're basically all saying the same thing and it's extremely short. So, but I'm hoping that we'll get some other developments. Maybe investigators will release some information about what's going on with the phone data. Maybe there's some other friends that will come forward and speak up. I don't know. I'm just hoping for the best in all this. And of course, our hearts are with Tom's family. And I really wish them strength and perseverance and to keep that hope alive, because I know it's tough in times like this. So before we get to the comment review, I have a few new patrons to thank, starting with Alien, who I also met on Twitter. Hey, Alien, thank you so much for the support. And Shannon Reynolds, now an official patron. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I really cannot do this without you guys, and I appreciate it. Let's go ahead and talk about comments from last week's episode. And like I mentioned, do some of these comments give us some insight into what's going on here? Possibly. We've got men of the same age, admittedly in different parts of the world. Last week's case is Quentin Bingley, missing from St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Of course, today's case is in England, but is there something that we can learn by comparing these in some way? Possibly. Let's start with a comment from Melissa C. I wonder if they had an argument or something at home before he went missing, with the stepdad saying, if something is wrong or need to change, let us know. We are not mad, just want to know you are okay. Makes me think he believed he ran away from home. I'm confused about the whole no shoe thing, though. Melissa, we might have some better details in terms of the shoes, thanks to another commenter. We're going to get to that. But before, I did just want to touch on the comments from the stepdad. And I have to say, I agree with you. And as a matter of fact, when I first watched the video, even before I shot last week's episode, there was something about it that kind of struck me as well. Just the way that he was phrasing things made it seem like, if nothing else, he was aware that Quentin was going through some tough times, and maybe it wasn't things that are necessarily related to the passing of Quentin's grandmother. So I'm with you. I got a really strong sense of that as well. But unfortunately, we don't have any details to really dive into that further. Let's see if we can learn about these shoes, though. Carol. John, the following is a post from his stepdad, I believe, on the Quentin Bingley Missing Facebook page. Before I go into it, actually, this is his father, Greg, not his stepdad. And this is the same Greg that I reached out to. Unfortunately, I did not hear back from Greg. Is there a reason for that? I don't know. Let's see his comment. But I did verify this comment is on the Facebook page. So let's see what he has to say. Greg Bingley, just so everyone is on the same page, Quinn's friends have mentioned that a pair of shoes and a bag are missing. Also, his money stash was empty. His grandmother's funeral was that weekend. He also left behind some notes for his mom to find. It would appear he has run away. Very interesting to me. I mean, he's all but saying that they found letters left behind from Quentin saying that he was leaving. He's kind of put the pieces together, but he hasn't directly said that. Hearing that his money stash was empty, very, very curious about that. Doesn't necessarily rule out something bad going on in this situation. Could it have been that someone else that was living in the home took Quentin's money and Quentin was upset about that? That's part of the reason why he ran away or something along those lines. I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there. But these pieces that we're hearing about, his shoes are gone, a bag is missing, and a significant amount of money certainly feels like it's pointing towards a runaway situation. And I'm just hoping that we get the same type of conclusion that we saw on Case Cracked earlier this week, where Quentin gets back in contact with people in some way to let them know that he's okay. Let's just finish up this comment from Carol. This would be very interesting to follow up on if you get the opportunity to speak with his parents. The post was on August 13th, and his dad is responding to lots of questions. Cheers, Carol from Australia. Thanks for bringing that to our attention, Carol. As I mentioned, unfortunately, his dad has not contacted me back, and I have a very soft touch when it comes to families that are in this position, because I know their emotions are all over the place. I don't want to invade. I just want to help. I put the call out there for help. I also put it out in the video. Of course, we also made the donation. That's as far as I can really take it. If Greg wants to contact me, I'm absolutely willing and able and want him to reach out. All he has to do is email me, john@lordandarts.com. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened. Missing Mom Shannon. I love hearing that the billboard company was willing to help. I know you have covered cases in the past where billboard space has been donated to help raise awareness. I think that is a great resource and would love to see more companies donate their resources. Yes, Missing Mom Shannon, that's one of the things I really appreciate when I'm covering these cases, is seeing how people help each other and donating billboards. It's such a great idea. I've seen it work both ways, where someone from the billboard company will know about it and they'll reach out to family members. And then I've seen it where family members will contact billboard companies that are local to them and, let them know about what they're going through. And then the billboard companies will help them. I've also seen where sometimes they don't just donate it, but family members are able to work out, reduced rates. Sometimes they'll get, the graphics put together for free or things like that. So it's all over the place, but this is the type of situation that touches my heart the most as well, when there's people just willing to help other people out of the kindness of their heart. Hottie Girl 05, I'm not sure what to make of this disappearance because all the details aren't leading to enough information about why he would leave or anything. This case is confusing, and I really want to have his family come on because we really need more information and insight into his life and stuff. I totally agree. I think basically with the message that we see from Greg, that they're so confident that this is a runaway situation. I don't know how much the family is trying to raise more awareness around this case. It could be that they're kind of hurt. It could be that they're just waiting for Quentin to come home or give them a call or something along those lines. I don't know. People respond differently. People act differently towards these things. And I can't say for certain that that's exactly what I would do. I think if I was in Greg's shoes, I'd be taking every opportunity to raise exposure to this case. If nothing else, just on the hope that maybe Quentin will watch this video. Maybe you'll get a chance to say something to him that motivates him to reach back out. That's kind of what we saw in Case Cracked this week, where a family member reached out to the young man that had run away and did get him to call his mother. But that's just me, and I'm telling you, people deal with this type of event in their life in all kinds of different ways. So I think we just have to be open to that, and maybe it's just a matter of time. Maybe at some point in the future, Greg will make will reach out and want to engage this process, but it's totally up to him. Jules M., these families must be going through absolute hell. It's just tragic. And I just wanted to end on that comment because that is what we have to keep in mind here. And when people are hurting, sometimes they're not acting from the best place in terms of maybe making the exact right steps. And like even the example that I was just talking about, that I would reach out and ask for help, maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I would be so traumatized by what I was going through that I wouldn't be able to get out of bed. I know there's cases of family members where they're feeling like that. So it is really one of those things where we just have to keep our hearts open to them and just kind of build the half of the bridge that we can and hope that they build the other half and come across, and then we can work together and try to do something to move these cases forward. I think that's the best we can do, is just be here and be open. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this episode of Brainscratch Searchlight. I appreciate each and every one of you out there. Please share this video, in particular around the Worcester area in the UK. We really want to raise exposure to this case. We want to see if there's something that we can do to bring this young man home. So I hope that you can be a part of that. Of course, if you have information about Tom, please use that contact information in the detail box below and put it in the hands of people that can act on it. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you back here on Friday with a brand new Brainscratch.